Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Cape Rugby TV Wednesday night, 9 o'clock. Nice to have you along, and as I've said before, welcome to our DSTV viewers, channel 263. Tell your friends, but of course you know that because you're already on channel 263. And of course our Cape Town viewers feeding us off the Tygerberg transmitter. And nice to have all the Cape Town TV viewers and all rugby fans, sport fans, and moms and dads, aunties and uncles watching Cape Rugby TV, because we know that you watch Cape Rugby not just for the rugby, but also for the fantastic entertainment. Coming up on the show this evening, we're going to be speaking about international rugby. We'll speak about the Sevens rugby. We'll talk about what's happening in the world of referees. And we've got some great competitions coming up during the course of the show. Look out for competitions from Luco, Evox, and of course the Amabaka Boka Ball. That'll come up a little bit later in the show. My panel on the show this evening, and you've met him before, Morgan Newman. Hello, Morgs.
How's it, James? How's it going? Thanks for having me back on the show.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, it's becoming a regular occurrence. I'm not complaining.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to have you here. All right, Paulie Delport, how are you, my man?
I'm well, thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, but you know where the seat is, you know where the microphones are, you're comfortable.
I do, I feel very at home here. It's great.
And a man who we've been trying to get here for weeks and months and years now, finally, we've obviously heard your voice on Good Hope FM a couple of hundred times when we were talking club rugby. And I think you've been on Cape Rugby before, but now we've got you back on the show. Stefan, the head conditioning coach at Western Province Rugby, DHL Western Province Rugby and the Stormers. Hello, Steph.
How are you, Jobs?
Lekker?
Yeah, good to be here. Thanks.
You guys having a bit of a breather now?
Yeah, a little bit. Obviously ready to get the ball rolling again, and can't sit still, but yeah, got to give the players off and the coaches some time to rest. So good to be here.
Do the coaches ever rest though? I mean, you guys, when everyone's taking a breather, physical breather, you guys are busy planning again.
Yeah, they always make plans. There's always probably a new trend taking place or something that they see during the season they want to work on during the off season. So they very seldom relax, but they're away from the game at the moment.
All right, but we know that you're a real jack in the box. You don't really stop, huh?
No, I can't.
What do you do in your off time when you're not busy training rugby?
I kite surf a bit.
You kite surf?
Southeastern Cape Town allows us to get onto the kites and use the water around Cape Town, and then I play a bit of golf. Bit frustrating, but I go take it out on the kite when I'm off my game.
I have that same problem with Morgan. His golf is a bit frustrating as well. Yeah. Let's take a look now at the international rugby results, folks. There were some interesting internationals over the weekend and some controversial results as well. Of course, it was New Zealand who played against France over the weekend. And, a win for them, 26-19, but it was close at the Stade de France. Samoa went down to Ireland, 49, and South Africa, 24-15 against Wales, while England beat Argentina, 31 points to 12 at Twickenham, Scotland, 42-17 over Japan at Murrayfield, and Italy going down to Australia at Torino, 50 points to 20. Gentlemen, if we look at some of those results, let's start off with the South African result. I actually put out a tweet that the comment that would be coming out over the weekend, Morgs, would be, it was messy, but we'll take the win.
Yeah, look, I mean, people always, it's that old cliche of, where the South African fans are never really happy with the result. It's they come and go, and whether you win by 50 points or whether you win by 5, they always seem to find fault somewhere along the line. So yeah, look, I mean, on tour, you take any win that you can get, and against Wales, who I think, like we spoke about last week, is the form side in the Northern Hemisphere. Take any win, so it's a good start, and hopefully they can keep that form going, in the next 2 games that they've got on tour.
But do you think Heineke Meyer is going to be happy with the results over the weekend? I mean, it was scrappy, it was messy. What would he have learnt out of that?
Yeah, look, I think it was scrappy and messy, but I think the conditions sort of didn't really play along. I mean, I know they closed the dome, just before kickoff they closed the dome, which allowed for a dry game. But the field, when the field's wet like that, whether it rains or whether it doesn't rain during the game, it still remains wet. So the conditions were tough, and I think I think 1 or 2 guys that have been playing in different leagues. I think the guys of Jacques Fourie and Foy Dupree have both been playing in Japan, and a few other guys that haven't been playing in South Africa have obviously needed to find their feet in the first 20 minutes to half an hour. So eventually, when they did, the class showed. So yeah, I mean, it took them a while to get going, but now they're on tour and they settled, and you'll see a different performance come in the next 2 weeks.
Paulie, let me ask you: you've played at international fields all around the world. You play some good pitches, and then you get to a place like Wales, and it's just a shocker. How much difference does that make to your game after you've prepared, maybe on another surface?
Yeah, definitely. I think I think the guys were a little bit surprised, especially like Morg said. We thought the dome was going to be closed, and it did look very slippery. But I suppose just in terms of the Springbok side, the international players, that caliber of players that they have, I think the guys adapted and adjusted very well. Played a bit more of a kicking game. We saw it was a bit loose underfoot. But it does, Jeff. So I think it does throw you off. You go in there wanting to play a running game, and it doesn't work out.
Steph, you guys from a preparation point of view, if you look at Newlands, Newlands got the perfect pitch. I mean, you can play football on the pitch straight. It's smooth. The grass is well cut. I know Julian Barnett was probably looking at Wales' game and thinking, yes, but just let me loose there for a couple of weeks. I'll fix up this pitch. From a Storm's point of view, when you're traveling, how much difference does it make?
Probably not as much as you think it would, but I mean, you control what you can control, and it's the same for both sides.
Yeah.
The biggest consideration you have to take is, do you come prepared for different conditions at the venue? The length of the studs is quite important. So as a trainer myself, I've probably got about 1,000 studs that I travel with every weekend, and then the players change studs quickly. Some might feel uncomfortable or comfortable during
Morgan's
the warm-up.
girlfriend says the same thing sometimes. She travels with a lot of, she's got a lot of studs. Morgs, you one of those studs?
Yeah, I think I'm one of those studs. hopefully I'm the only stud that she carries in her bag, but I'm okay.
Polly, your other half, lots of studs in the
Yeah.
all right, then let's leave it at that. Okay, so Steph travels a lot of studs. Morgan's got a lot of studs. In
Steve's got some studs too.
All right, Steph, you've got a couple of studs to chat. Yeah, okay, we're going in that direction, yeah. Okay, sorry, so let's get back to this. Is there some other reason why a bad field, like the grass at the Welsh Stadium, does it affect your refereeing on the day?
That's a tough question, JP. You're putting me on the spot. I don't know too much about refereeing here, but I can believe that what he's expecting to happen during certain phases of play would be different. Let's take in consideration a scrum. You'd like to have a steady, firm surface to work with.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then obviously it becomes a bit more of an issue maybe to deal with. But as I said before, it's it's the same for both sides. But you'd expect ideal conditions for a test match.
Now, Morgan, what do you make of Alain Roland on the day? I mean, he reset that scrum, he reset it, and then he ended up getting to the point where he was warning both the props that if they infringe again, he was going to send them both off. And we had both props going off. It turned into this no contest scrum. I mean, it turned into a bloody mess, if you ask me.
Yeah, look, it was a little bit of a joke, sitting on the side of sitting at home watching the game. But at the same time, it's a tough position to be in as a referee. You've now warned the guys 3 times each. You told them the next one they're going to go down. South Africa were clever enough to make a substitution at the time when they obviously heard what was going on over the microphone. South Africa made a substitution. The next scrum that goes down, now do you send off the Welsh prop because he's the only one that's still left on the field, or do you stick by your word and send them both off because the scrum's still going down? So it's a tough one to call. But yeah, I mean, look, I think he could have gone about it 20 other different ways, and he'd probably still be nailed for it.
Polly, do you think that maybe he spoke too soon and he was kind of warning them both? Like, guys, if this happens again, I'm going to send you both off, like a double warning, and then kind of was forced into doing a double decision.
Yeah, Jeff, I agree. I think we were chatting about it earlier. I think he did paint himself into a bit of a corner, and he ended up having no other option, which, it's not a great position for him to have been in.
So as a ref, I mean, you must think carefully what you say before you say it.
Yeah, definitely.
Look, and now Connie always stays and sits with a record of the quickest, the least amount of time on the field for a yellow card. So it's a record that he'll sit with in his book for a long time.
but a lot of people didn't understand that what actually happened was he did say that the previous warnings. I mean, Stefan, you guys are on the field and the ref's given maybe a certain flank who has infringed again and again and again. He does a blanket warning. Doesn't matter if a new player comes on, or if it's the same player, or if it's a different player in a different position.
Sometimes he warns the team, so he'll say it's a team warning, and whoever then transgresses, unfortunately that's you. So it depends how he lays it down to the players. But most often he'd say, listen, this is a team warning. Go warn the players in your team, and then whoever is in the wrong place in.
Because that's what happened was, I mean, he made it very clear when the props came on. He said, listen, your other guys before you have been warned.
Yes.
You've all been warned. This warning is carrying over to you. So it wasn't as if this prop was being treated unfairly. He just unfortunately was taking the pain for.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. So it was a bit of a messy game, but South Africa does come away with a win there and a win against Wales. And Wales has been a good side, though. I mean, Paulie, you'd agree with me. They reckon this was the best Welsh team that they would have had in a long time.
Yeah, James, they've like Morgie said earlier, they've had a wonderful season. And I think just listening to the commentators chat, I think 10 of the Welsh team started for the British and Irish Lions, and that's absolutely incredible. I don't know, going back in history, that there've been so many guys from one nation starting in that side.
And so many guys from one nation with the same surname. Because
Jones.
Jones the butcher, Jones the baker, Jones the cobble maker, Jones the
Or Win Jones.
Paul Wynne Jones. What do you make of Lee Halfpenny at fullback?
He's great. Big fan of his.
Yeah.
He's had a great season, and also big fan of the smaller guys that can get the business done. Cheslin, Echio, and Halfpenny. It's
Yeah.
great to see those guys getting the job
Fantastic player there, Lee Halfpenny. I was very impressed with him. Samoa against Ireland. I didn't catch that game. New Zealand, France. That was the other cracker over the weekend. I think a lot of people were quite happy when the South African game was finished, so they could get on with watching the All Black team. I know a lot of the Cape Rugby TV fans were saying, right, let's get finished with this nonsense because we want to watch their favourite team. I suppose the Cape Crusaders were busy geared up and ready to go for their favourite team. Not that I'm sure if there's still any Cape Crusaders left in Western Province. If you are out there, send us a message on Facebook. We'd like to know if you still exist. But New Zealand came up against a French side who traditionally are unpredictable. They blow hot and cold, and they really brought it to New Zealand, the French.
So unbelievable French side that they've got. I mean, the French always, French in their backyard. I mean, Steph will tell you, everyone will tell you that, it's the French at home is a different cup of tea to the French away from home, So New Zealand, and funnily enough, I was looking at the game, and generally New Zealand use these tours, and they generally blood young guys. They blood guys that haven't really, that has done well in Super 15 or never didn't make it in the Rugby Championship, and they bring them through now.
Yeah.
But if you look at the team that New Zealand fielded on the weekend, it was their best, strongest side, purely to try and counter this French side at home that was going to bring it to them. So they came prepared, and in the end, one or two pieces of brilliance from individuals in the New Zealand side always win it for them. And I think generally, if you can sort of look at any New Zealand side, it's one or two guys that moments of brilliance that changes the game and hand it to them in their favour.
So if we look at those two games and we compare the two pitches, the Stade de France pitch was in fact, even though it looked, once they started off with the anthems, it looked like this perfect pitch. But the minute the players ran on, the pitch just caved.
Oh, it also churned
it
up.
was coming out in divots, massive monsters. So in fact, it looked like the Stade de France pitch was worse because it just didn't stay underfoot. But yet there was a smooth flowing game. Steph?
It'll be interesting to see how many scrums there were in that game.
Well, they had their first scrum. I mean, we had in the South African game, we had to wait 20 minutes. 20 minutes before and in the New Zealand thing was after 3 minutes was the first scrum.
Maybe the pitch played a role. I know they moved it quite a bit. If it churned up, it does play a big role. But it'll be interesting looking at that stat of the
how many scrums
of the scrums, and if they had a lot of turnovers, maybe the game flowed a bit more. Some refs blow it when there's a knock; they'll blow it straight away, and there'll be a scrum. Other refs will allow a little bit of.
What did you think of Jaco Paper's performance on the day?
I think South Africa's got really good referees generally. I think they've got a really good attitude and personality, and they can work in tough situations, conditions. France against New Zealand in Paris is as tough probably as you'll get it, except South Africa versus maybe New Zealand in South Africa or New Zealand.
Yeah.
But I think generally our referees are positive. They've got good energy. They've got good communication of speaking to the players and the captains and getting the game to flow.
Did you get a feeling that when they were playing against New Zealand that Jaco Paper sort of laid the law right in the beginning? The first reset, he immediately said, "You do that again, I'm not speaking to you again, Morgs."
No, he's extremely assertive. Often there's a big debate between the Southern Hemisphere and the Northern Hemisphere refs. Just because of the conditions that they're playing under and the way they see the game. At the end of the day, a referee's decision does generally come down to how you read the game. It's how you see it. Often we say to referees, put yourself in the position to be able to call it. So. I mean, I've spoken to quite a few refs. Like I see Maurice van der Westhuizen quite often, and he's done quite well in South Africa at the moment. And I often chat to him, and he's one of these guys that he says lately what the refs have been doing during training is they actually go and tackle each other, and they see what's the best way to stay on your feet, and what's the best way to blow a certain call, or to necessarily scrum and see which is the best way to stay on your feet. Because, I mean, again, Southern Hemisphere ref lets the game flow a little bit more. Northern Hemisphere refs are more inclined to blow a little bit quicker because conditions in the Northern Hemisphere don't allow for an open, generally running rugby, high-scoring game. So different mindset possibly played a role, but yeah, Jaco's an unbelievable ref, and I mean, again, he allowed a game that that's always bound to be tough to flow fairly well.
Paul, you were in our pre-show, should I say, a conversation. You were talking about some of the players who were doing a full plank over the ball, managed to get away with murder. You as a player, does it when the referee tells you, right, that's it. Now clearly in the South African game it didn't help, but maybe it had a bit of an accent or something. But in the French game, did you feel like if you were a player and Jaco Peyper had drawn the line, you weren't going to do it again?
Yeah, definitely. I think Steph definitely hit the nail on the head. I think Jaco really communicated his point well with whoever he was chatting to, and he did, like you said, Jabs, he did lay the law down. And yeah, again, you know, you look at the refs and like Morgie said, it is very different because everyone interprets it differently. You know, Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere, and you know, being a referee it's a very thankless job. So at the end of the day, we could easily find 100 faults with each ref after every game.
Yeah, but if you ref a game like that, then I'm going to find 100 faults with you because it's bloody obvious that there were 100 faults.
No, definitely.
You know, starting with the scrums and the communication. I mean, that's why the game turned into a bit of a farce, in my opinion. And as much as the politicians and the administrators will say, well, it was a game and we won the game and so on. I mean, the fact is, from a fan's point of view, every fan out there was complaining. We can't hide from that. Let's move on to the next game now. England against Argentina. England's taking on New Zealand pretty soon. The Argentina's just outclassed here by the English. I'm not saying the English got super class, but Steph, Argentina just not really up to scratch when it comes to these Northern Hemisphere and Southern Hemisphere teams.
Yes, it's obviously tough on them because of competitions allowing them to prepare for these test matches. You know, we know they play all over the world. A lot of them play in France, and with the South African, New Zealand and Australian teams being together during Super Rugby and then having incoming or outgoing tours, probably more incoming tours during the middle part of the year and then doing their outgoing tours at the end, it's a lot more continuous for them in their preparation. I know they've had great assistance in terms of their team preparation, but it's still tough if you don't play together for a long time.
What do you make of the England setup?
Look, England's always professional, so they've got the best facilities. They've got a lot of good sports scientists assisting them, and they see sports scientists different to. No,
but I mean, from a team point of view, for the players at the moment, do you think England's a good squad? Do you think they're good enough to beat the All Blacks on Saturday?
That'll be tough. I mean, we always know England at Twickenham will be tough in any case because they've got a lot of pride. But looking at New Zealand, they've got McCaw said he wants to be the first captain, and I don't know how many years to make sure that he's the most successful captain during the year, 100% record. So they'll come out, smashing doors down. But it might be an upset. England might arrive more than we think, but I think they've got a lot of young players that want to bring it and they want to impress because the World Cup's.
Other results there. Sorry, Steph. The other results there was Scotland beating Japan 42 points to 17, and then of course Australia beating Italy 50-20, which we're really not going to talk too much about. I'm sure the Australians basically just had to make a big comeback after their loss last week. But as Steph just said, the English side just really looking a little bit stronger than maybe in the past. Folks, we're going to take an ad break, and when we come back, we'll take a look at some of the happenings in and around Western Province Rugby. Quite a lot of stuff coming up, some great competitions, and of course, we'll take a look at some of the events in Western Province. Remember that Swing for Charity, St. George's Golf Day. I'm sure you can still get involved there if you want to. That's on Friday, the 17th of November. We'll be back after this. Welcome back, folks. Cape Rugby TV, Wednesday nights, 9 o'clock. Let's take a look now. Swing for Charity at St. George's. This is, of course, in aid of the Kiddies Day at St. George's Rugby Football Club. We told you about it last week, but I'm sure that if you still want to get in there and support the children at St. George's, of course, out in Gustro. And you remember there's one of the very first teams that we went out to, Ruben Riffel and the boys, making such an astounding effort there in the Strand area. Of course, just under the Solarius Pass location, so to speak, Gustro, and they had so many problems at one stage there with electricity and lighting, and the last time we were there, somebody stole the ladder off the lighting. Okay, that welded on ladder. Ek het laas keer gesê, hoe steel jy 'n leer van 'n lig af, mense? Maar anyway, iemand het reg gekry. All the proceeds are going to the Children's Christmas Day. Just take a look and see how it is that you can enter. It's on the 17th of November at Somersworth Golf Course, only $250, and it's going to include a light lunch. You can RSVP there to Sebastian on 082 510 2268 or to Janine on 082 555 6437. All proceeds go to the Children's Day. Right, so We'll put that up on Facebook as well, folks, if you want to have a look at entering the St. George's Swing for Charity Golf Day. In fact, don't even think about it. Just get out there and go play. We've already asked the folks last week if you're a golfing fan to drop us a message on Facebook and tell us that you're into golf, because the Cape Rugby TV team always needs a bit of golf. Let's turn our attention now to sevens. Paulie, it's the George Sevens. You're busy coaching the academy side at the moment, I believe.
Yeah, helping the legend himself, Marius Kuman, out. Marius has been tasked with I think taking our Springbok Sevens academy forward, and the guys are going to play. The guys are going to play in the international invitational section in Dubai. We'll take a team there, and then they'll play in the IPL style tournament in George, which is the week after the PE Sevens.
Steph, just tell us a little bit about the team that Paulie's busy coaching, the academy team. Who are they?
I think Paul must tell us.
All right, Paulie. Well, I mean, you're at HPC. They're all there, right? Okay, Paul, you tell us about the academy.
It's basically so at the moment our Springbok Sevens squad is made up of about 22 guys. So it will be the guys that don't make the team for the circuits, that goes and plays in the HSBC Sevens series circuits.
Oh, so this is not the Western Province Rugby
No,
Academy
this is
side. That's Henny Becker's group of kids.
That's right, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
So this is actually the SA Rugby Academy. And are you guys training out in Stellenbosch at the Institute?
Yeah, training
Right.
training out in studies. I think Marius is just putting a few final plans together, and I think that the team will get together next week after Neil Powell and the guys have decided on their squad for the Dubai and the PE leagues.
So just tell us a little bit more about the Institute in Stellenbosch itself, because I think a lot of people don't know much about the Institute. Who trains there? What kind of facilities is there? Who are the squads? How does one get in there?
Absolutely fantastic. It's called SAS, and it's Stefan, the province academy guys are based there. And
there we go. Yeah.
And then we share it with them, and then it's absolutely fantastic. All the facilities you could think of. The guys stay there. We've got a full-time canteen with chefs, fully equipped gym with biokineticists, physios, and the guys really get looked after very, very well there.
So let me then now ask my question, Steph. Tell me about the Western Province Academy side.
It's Jay. So what basically happens is that when players leave school, they must decide do they want to play professionally. Some of them get signed young and they go and they play for the Bulls, like what happened to Pollard. He gets to the Bulls at 19 years of age or 18. But then the rest of the cream that we pick up, which are about 45 to 55 players, depending on what they take in, they then go to the Stellenbosch Academy of Sport. Or at that facility, basically the Western Province Rugby Institute, for a year of coaching, and they get educated from nutrition to training to coaching, the whole lot.
So the Institute and the Academy, that's the same thing?
The Institute and the Academy is different.
It's different. The Institute is your 50 players who
that's right.
can
that has
book in there.
They've left school already. So they get full-time coaching, and most players that play for Province Under 19 will be selected from there, although everyone goes through a selection process and there are trial matches played, but they get full-time coaching. The Academy, which are still scholars, fall under Henny Becker, who's situated and under Western Province HPC, the High Performance Centre in Bellville. And then those kids we look after from a nutritional point of view, coaching, and then obviously also conditioning, and they're really getting stuck in, and hopefully a lot of them then will end up at the Institute. They'll end up at under 19, under 21, maybe Currie Cup, Super Rugby, and then international rugby. That should be the flow of all of that.
Okay. Is there any studying? Do the kids study at all, or is it purely rugby? Is it done with schoolwork?
Originally they had it 1 year full time. I know they've had some second years in during last year or this last year. I'm not sure how they've restructured it for next year, but there were discussions about studies, and obviously we know a lot of guys need to study because we never know when rugby might stop.
So there's no more studying then?
Not at the moment.
Sorry, Morgs, you're out of luck.
No, my days of studying are thankfully behind me.
All right, so there's no more studying. It's plainly concentrate on rugby, and that's it.
Yes.
Fantastic facility,
Great
world-class
facility.
equipment. In fact, we do have a video on that, folks. We'll show you that video next week of the Institute, and it really is exceptional. Let's turn our attention now to sevens. It's the HSBC International Sevens soon, Paulie.
Yeah, Japs, the guys are, well, the Dubai leg is the 29th and 30th of November, and then the PE tournament's the following weekend.
How does that work? How many teams in the Dubai leg?
16, Japs. Normally it's in the series events. It will be 16 teams, 4 pools of 4, 3 pool games on day 1, and then it's pretty much knockouts on day 2, quarterfinals, and then you progress through.
How do they select the 16 teams?
Well, I think they are now, Japs are starting to be corrected, but there are 10 full-time teams. So those are your top 10 teams in the world, and then obviously the teams from the different continents.
Repage, or they call it something like that. Huh?
Yeah. And they kind of make up the rest. Well, I think it might be even more now. I think there are 14 teams that are in for every tournament, and then 2 kind of wildcard teams. You know, like when we play in New Zealand, you have a wonderful rugby country like Tonga. Tonga will get a chance to play there just because it's close to them.
So the next one is Dubai, HSBC Sevens, and after that?
PE.
Port Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Back to South Africa.
Yeah.
World-class event.
Absolutely.
What can folks expect when they go to, let's skip Dubai, a lot of people aren't traveling to Dubai, but what can folks expect when you go to PE to go and watch HSBC Sevens?
You know, aside from the great rugby, it really is well organised, Jeff. You know, there are events running in conjunction with the P7s. I know it starts on Thursday, or I think could even start on the Wednesday. There's a tens event that's incredibly well organised. The guys come out in droves. They have concerts next to the stadium. I know SAB have a massive tent up there, and they really just try and make it like a big rugby festival.
Morgan's listening with big ears. That SAB tent.
Yeah, no, I'm listening. I'm actually listening about the 10s because I might enter a Cape Rugby TV team, Steph.
How's your training going, Morgan?
No, things are going, but not too badly, I must say. Yeah, so my Cape Rugby TV team's also there. They're also training hard. So, as JP will tell you, we made the finals of the Super Sevens.
Brilliant.
Our Cape Rugby TV team.
Did you play?
I did play.
Captain Courageous.
So yeah, Paulie was actually my team coach and manager. Him and Ish shared the managerial and coaching roles together. So no,
must be tough for you to abide to those two. Eh?
You might see me in the Cape Town at the PE 10s, Steph. You never know.
Brilliant.
Never mind the SAB
I
10.
heard your testing went quite well.
Yeah, very, very well. Thanks, Steph. JP's presenting the show, not you.
I was about to ask him about his skin folds. I was just about to get there.
I knew it was going.
I'm actually quite enjoying myself. I'm just sitting on the side here. I'm having a cold one, courtesy of Core Catering, who've given us some beautiful crystal glasses here. Must say, really, thanks to Olaf and the guys at Core Catering for their beautiful glasses that is now looking after the Cape Rugby TV show. But yeah, so I was quite happy to let you guys just carry on. I could have taken a bit of a breather. It's been 3 years and 40 episodes in each year, so it was 120 shows in a row consecutively without missing a show. But anyway, not to be sentimental. But you mentioned the word skin folds, Steph. You talk about skin folds a lot in the world of rugby. Tell us about skin folds. What is that for? And let's not talk now as if you're a professional player or even a club player. For the average man in the street who wants to know, when you're doing skin folds, what's that for a mom or a dad out there who doesn't really pay attention to rugby other than a Saturday game? What is a skin fold?
It's basically, as it says, it's a skin fold. So we measure the subcutaneous fat. There are different formulas.
There we go again. Okay, can you please explain the word subcutaneous in the same vein?
Obviously, we can only measure. We can't go intravenous, so we can't.
Oh my word! Okay, folks, let me do it for you. Then. Subcutaneous means under the skin.
Yeah.
Intravenous means
inside the body.
Inside the body. Okay, so you can't go under the skin and you can't go inside the body. Interpretation done.
We measure what's under the skin.
Okay.
Okay, but there are different formulas. So you can have from.
You're measuring fat.
Measuring fat under the
skin.
Yes,
okay.
Because we can't use hydrostatic weighing, putting them in water and weighing them and using body density. It's too expensive. So the easy method out there is just to use a skin fold caliper. It's just something that squeezes so you do a skin fold and you squeeze and you get a measurement.
Okay.
And then you put it in the formula that you'd like to use from the amount of sites that you want to use. So
when you say sites, you're talking about different places in the body.
That you
do a skin fold, maybe under the arm.
That's right.
You might do one on the leg,
That's
on the
right.
chest.
The abdomen, the back, the tricep.
And the more you do, because there's different amounts of fat carried on different parts of the body.
Male, female, they carry it different.
Yeah.
That's why
So you would carry yours as a man where?
I know where this is going.
And then Morgs would carry his where?
No, it seems like he's carrying it everywhere at the moment.
Listen, let me
what
tell you
do
something.
do?
Steph only uses, I like the way he says a subcutaneous, because depending on how much of a favorite you are in his books, it depends on how much of how strongly he decides to
fingers
use
or-
these
yeah.
calipers.
Doesn't take
So
the whole
for me,
fold.
around the abdomen area, he likes to grab a large chunk, but for most of the other guys, he just uses little fingers like this.
It's just a little finger like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. All right. Okay.
That's
Like
how it works.
that's
Steph.
how we throw our pour our drinks to.
All right. Okay. So, Steph, let me just ask you then. What do you do when you get a guy like Paulie over there, who's got, and we're gonna have a little shot there of Paulie, but I mean, Paul, show us your arms, buddy, because there's nothing but veins there. What do you do with a guy like Paul?
No, that's the perfect athlete to work with because he's got great genetics. You'd actually want to cut his cardio slightly back.
I hope the Sevens guys are listening. What did you say? Cut his cardio back.
Slightly.
A
Well,
lot.
it depends on Alan. We need to
okay.
get Alan on the show.
Who's
here too.
Alan now? 'Cause really, I know that you guys have become like your three-way rugby conversation has become the thing
Oh,
here now.
Alan
Alan?
Temple Jones is our conditioning coach.
Oh,
for the
Alan
Sevens.
Temple
Our
Jones
bike and
is the
assist, yeah.
conditioning coach for the
Springbok
SA7s.
Sevens,
Yeah.
Steph's boss.
Okay. So,
Yes. That's it.
now, would he? Why do you need low or high skin folds in rugby?
It's actually instead of just keeping warm, it doesn't really. And there's a lot of collisions. So for some guys, it might be beneficial because you're going to save a little bit of the muscle. There's going to be a bit of isolation, what's the word there, Japes? More padding between.
But like a bit of a buffer kind
yeah,
of, yeah.
but for the rest of the guys, it's a fast-paced game. So you want to have less body fat to have your economy of running up. You're actually carrying a small tire if you're carrying
So
too
you
much
want
body
to,
fat.
but you don't always want low skin, the lowest possible. I mean, you're not looking for 2% body fat. So these guys that are going to the beach and really ripping down for summer and that, it's not great. You want to kind of find a balance.
100%.
of
Depending
body
on the position. I don't know what Paul's goals are. They might want him slightly heavier because he might play a different role for them.
Yeah.
But
But a guy
if-
like Frans Malherbe, who played for the Springboks over the weekend, you don't want to see a six-pack on him.
there should be an ideal goal for him, but
Mm.
his genetics are completely different to Chisel and Colby. So
But there's no harm for him to carry a little bit more.
yeah, also not too much. But
Yeah.
there's a give and take. I look at the work he has to perform, and then
Yeah.
what I'd like him to be ideally, and then
Okay, so
obviously
how do
he's
you-
got to run still.
How do you then play with that? How do you move? How do you change the? Sorry, folks. How do you change somebody's body fat percentage then? How do you move from a low skin fold to a high skin fold? What do you do to control during the season? Because you got an off season, then you got a pre-season,
Yeah.
now it's match season, and you how do you play with it? What factors do you use to change someone's body fat?
Lifestyle, number one. How he eats during the day, if he eats or if he doesn't eat. Then activity level. So you'd have to look at the type of work that he does in conjunction with his nutrition. So
right.
we know the effects of aerobic when you're sitting on the bike for 30 minutes and you're just doing steady pace stuff, or you're taking a nice steady jog or walk, versus anaerobic work where it's a lot more high intensity, your endurance or your duration is not that long.
Yeah.
And those have got different effects on everything else.
Which one burns more body fat? A lot of people ask this question, and I think a lot of people jump onto Google as well. Everybody wants to know, what do the Stormers do? I mean, you guys are at the top of the range in terms of sports science. Which one works better? The aerobic activity where you're sitting on a bicycle and you're breathing a lot of oxygen, or the anaerobic where you're pushing weights and it's slightly more intense? Which one burns more body fat?
Everyone wants to go aerobic first, which is not wrong, but the problem with that is it also has a catabolic effect. So you will burn
Catabolic meaning
burning, or you'll
you-
waste muscle mass.
you're
So
losing-
you'll lose muscle mass.
right.
So we can't afford that. So what we do a lot of is interval training. We work for about 45 to 60 minutes on different exercises with cardio in the middle, and then in conjunction with that, if he gets his diet right, it'll obviously be a no-brainer. He'll get results. But
So getting on a bicycle to burn body fat
Yeah.
is not always a great idea, because you're going to lose muscle also potentially.
you've got the risk to lose muscle mass. If you keep your nutrition quite sound and you do the right stuff in the gym, then you might not lose it. But it's about sitting on the bike for hours, and we don't have that time.
Yeah.
We've got to do the most amount of work that we can, quality, in a short period of time. And I think we've landed on the right type of workouts to make players lose the right amount of body fat.
At which time of the season do you make your changes? Because you've just come out of the Currie Cup. And we're going to talk about the Currie Cup in a second, as well as the Super 15 that you went through during the Super Rugby, as they call it now. I'm still going to call it Super 15, probably as long as there's 15 teams in it. But you go Super 15, you go into the Currie Cup, and then of course you have about a 2 or 3 week break, and you guys are ready. I mean, you're training already. Now which is called the pre-season.
That's right.
And then the off-season.
Off-season now.
Then you're going to get into the space where it's called pre-season, and then you're going to get into match season. At which stage do you start making your changes? Like, do you go heavyweights, bulking up off-season, pre-season, you start working a bit more speed work? Am I on the right track?
Yeah, I think the trend used to be that you start with high volume work, so you'll go low sets, high reps, but it does not allow everyone to go through that. A player like Paul that might be losing muscle mass quite quickly because he's running a lot, we might put him on quite a high volume work in the gym. But then other players that are heavy enough, and that's what science tells us, that will pick up muscle mass, lean muscle mass.
Okay.
But players that are heavy enough, you'd actually like to engage into their strength phase quite quickly.
Yeah.
So you'd have to look at the individual and then what their needs are. You can't really cover everyone under the same umbrella. And in terms of the running work, the cardiovascular work, you'd probably start quite slowly, but we've seen with ourselves in the past is that if we do a bit of a mixed bag of work from the start, we get our results quicker, because the players on that level really doesn't detrain as quickly as players like me and you and maybe other players that played club rugby when we were trolling.
You've lost me altogether already. Okay, heavyweights off season.
Not always heavy.
If you're a club rugby guy, keep it simple.
If you want to pick up muscle mass, low sets, high reps.
Low sets, high reps.
Start changing over as the weeks go on.
Okay, lots of food. Eat like
The right food.
3 horses a day.
About 4 if you can.
4 horses. Okay, so there's no harm in eating. Eat as much as you can.
No, you must eat, but eat the right stuff, because your cardio will be down.
Eat
And
like
if you're heavy enough, then just focus on strength.
Okay.
High sets, low reps.
All right, Paulie, is that what you guys do?
Yeah, we also
Was a little bit more
like
scientific?
Steph was saying, you kind of go through your phases. Like Steph was saying, you get your hypertrophy phase, your strength phase, your explosive work phase. So it kind of works through, and that's why we have legends like this who know the science behind it. You know, we just get the program.
You're pointing out, for clarity purposes, you're pointing at
Towards
Steph.
you.
I'm talking at Steph. Oh, you as well, Jeffs. You know, when we're in the SAB tent, you know, then I'll come straight to you.
Oh yes, that's right. Yes, that's
move
the SABC tent, of course, folks, that he's referring to. Right, I'm going to take my watch off, folks, because one of the things I want to show you. This is something that we ended up using at the Village of Super Sevens for the Cape Rugby TV team. Right, so this is Leuco BSN strapping. I want to show you how lovely this stuff works. Okay, so I would have used this in another life. So what I specifically love about the strapping, and I'm just going to use an example, is if you strap and then you just tear. Look how easy that is. Okay, so you want to win for yourself some Leuco strapping. You know, if I wanted to do this in another sport, you would just wrap this again. Watch carefully, folks. Leuco strap, wrap, and tear. Isn't that just perfect? There you go. There's your strapping done. Leuco strapping. You want to win yourself some Leuco strapping. What we're going to do is we're going to do a hand similar to this. And we're going to do a photograph for you. You must tell us which one of the 4 panel members' hand it is. And if you tell us correctly whose hand it is, you win for yourself a combo of Leuco strapping, courtesy of BSN Medical. BSN Medical and Leuco strapping, of course, supply the Stormers, Steph.
That's right.
How much strapping do you guys use, and why is it important?
Well, obviously, to try and prevent injuries, stabilize joints. A lot of players, that's where they get their motivation and quite positive feedback for sessions and matches. But you know, we can't go without strapping. Sometimes during sessions we have to actively and acutely strap. Yeah. But we take 4 massive bags on tour with us when we do Super Rugby, and Wayne packs it, 1 for every week, and I'm not exactly sure how many kilometers of strapping there. No, it's plenty.
Plenty of kilometers.
Chippy complains because it's too much, but it's helpful.
Paulie, do you strap?
Yeah, definitely.
What do you strap before a game?
Ankles, both ankles. I think just due to previous injuries and things. So both ankles. Don't end up looking like a Michelin man. So both ankles, and then often just a. And
that's
wrist.
just for stability. It's not necessarily because of injury. It's just for stability because. And Morgs, you strap a bit as well. Eh?
Yeah, generally you strap just as precaution. You know, if you're sitting with often you know, the beginning of the season is I try and stay away from it as much as possible to keep the joint, you know, sort of don't weaken the joint by strapping. But then as the season goes on, you pick up niggles along the way. I often strap just as precautionary, you know. So I do often do my ankles and things like that, and my wrists, you know, if it takes a little bit of a beating. But yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable. Strapping is paramount to most of the oaks, you know, when it comes to professional era.
All right, folks. So you often might have wondered then what it is that you always see on the side of the field. It's pretty much that stuff there, those white pieces, and it looks a little bit like that white thing that's just always lying on the side of the field. So you want to win for yourself some Leuco strapping, a combo pack. Just on Facebook, tell us whose hand it is that we strapped. It's going to be a photograph, and then next week, of course, we will reveal whose wrist it is that we strapped. It'll just be a simple sort of wrap around the wrist. Check that out on Facebook. Right, we're going to take an ad break, and when we come back, we'll take a look at what's happening in the preparation for the Super 15 that's coming up. It'll be coming up next. Back with you now. Welcome back, folks. Cape Rugby TV. Remember, find us on Facebook. Go check out that photograph. Tell us whose hand it is that's been wrapped. You win for yourself a Leuco strapping bundle. Evox Advanced Nutrition is, of course, the official sports nutrition supplier to Western Province Rugby and the DHL Stormers. And Evox looks after the kids, looks after the under-19s. How many different groups have you got, Steph? If we look at the progression from junior level all the way through, and we know Jerome often tells us about talent identification. We've got the Dizers and the amateurs, or at least the emerging team, which we know so much about already. But just tell us a little bit about the ranks and structures of Western Province Rugby from cradle to grave.
Yeah, let me speak about the ones that I know. We know we've got the amateurs, we've got the under-19s, we've got the Grand Cormu group, which are the under-16s.
That's now the former Craven Week group.
That's right. So let's start right at the bottom, under-16, under-18. Grand Cormu and Craven Week. Then we do amateurs. We've got the guys under-19, under-21, Vodacom Cup, Curry Cup, Super Rugby. I'm sure there are a couple, and also then the sevens, a couple that I've missed that Wilfred and Becker does.
Okay. In terms of your consistency of training, I've still got my watch lying on the side here. In terms of consistency of training, do you try and teach the same principles to the kids so that they go from kids to club to Vodacom Cup to Curry Cup Stormers?
Yes, I think the key there was, and I've bumped my head a couple of times, is you really want to go detailed. So you want to go fancy scientific stuff that only you actually understand at the end of the day. So I've cut a lot of the stuff back down to the pure basics of principles, and just try and get the individual to start working. And actually what we all want to see is just work rate. We just want to see a guy that can come into the gym, can smash stuff, and nothing really changes. Everyone looks for the biggest detail drill or exercise to use, but it's the pure basics that does the job.
Okay. So a lot of back to the basic stuff. Still,
absolutely.
The old traditional stuff that the guys used to do. But Paulie, one of the things that does seem to be coming into training nowadays is kind of training traditionally the ways that people used to train 20, 30 years ago. Running through tires, flipping tires, hitting tires with hammers, lifting heavy chains. You're doing some of that stuff. I mean, you guys are in a high science center, and you could, of course, be training Dolph Lundgren style like in Rocky 3 or 4 with all the gadgets and everything, but there's still a lot of that sort of raw training that you're doing.
Yeah, definitely, James. I think the general trend now, and Steph can weigh in on this, is the training's gone more functional. You're saying a lot more body weight stuff, a lot more explosive training. You know, I think that when you get to our level of rugby, everyone's strong, everyone's quick, everyone's conditioned. So those are things that you do. You don't necessarily have to go back into a hypertrophy program or into a strength program. The guys come in, and like Steph was saying, I think the game, the intensity is just upping every single year.
Yeah.
So you just want guys to be able to do that, almost that circuit training. So there could be a bit of contact, a bit of weights, a bit of anaerobic training. So you try and mix it up, because that's pretty much what a rugby game is about.
Okay, I'm gonna flip this now the other way around. At Western Province, you've got a lot of kids and you've got a lot of club rugby players who are extremely passionate about playing for the Stormers one day, playing for Western Province one day. They come into your space and they see what you do, and these are, of course, the exceptional, like you said, work rate, the exceptional players. And what they do is they watch their seniors gymming, and they watch them doing functional exercises, and some of them run the risk of overdoing it.
That's right.
And they go home, and all they do 7 days a week is do tire flipping and bench pressing and cycling and running and rope climbing, and they go, Is there a danger of overtraining?
Always. I think and especially what happens is that if you don't perform, you think you need to train harder. So then instead of then getting your performance outcome, you start doing worse, and you start training harder, and you start getting less results. That's what happens. That's why a lot of guys overtrain, because they see a lot of things that people do, or they pick up a program in the gym and they go, okay, but this must be the best, but you actually don't know in which phase or in which period this guy is. So I would say start right at the bottom, make sure you can do the exercises correctly, and then when you get stronger and when you get bored, start looking for just another exercise in the same basket of performance that you'd be looking at.
Okay, so my real question is then, if you are training that hard, is how important is recovery? Because surely if you haven't recovered on the one day, you can't be training the next.
These guys will be recovering super fast. Where the
Why would they recover?
They're used to that load, that intensity. Okay. They probably sleep enough, they eat right, they use the right supplementation, and they've been doing it for seasons. Where a guy that comes in, his body is overreaching from day one, and he's getting to a phase later where his body just says, if you don't shut me down now, I'm going to break.
Yeah, Morgs, how much time do you take from, I mean, you do a lot of weight training, you do a lot of fast sprints, very intense work. Do you rest between sessions? I mean, days?
Yeah, I think it's important on a club rugby point of view and a professional point. People must make sure that you distinguish between the two. A guy that's sitting in the office 8 to 5 doesn't necessarily get, by the time he gets into the gym, by the time he gets into to training, just on the field, his body's already been through a whole day of sitting in front of the office, in front of the computer. So it's a very different kind of training you would do there as opposed to a guy like who Steph works with, who has happened to eat correctly in the morning, comes to training, does the work in the morning, does the field session, does the gym session. So for me, I've coming into the working phase of things, I've really changed up the way I train. I mean, I go in there and I do short, sharp, to the point exercises, and I get out of there, But
let's use an example. If you bench press on a Monday, how long will you wait before you bench press again?
I generally do one body part a week. So I think it's, depending on what you want to achieve, obviously. I'm at the stage now where I'm just trying to get strength, and I'm in the off season now, so I'm just literally trying to push as much weight as I can or get as strong as I possibly can until before the season starts, where we start running again, and I tend to lose quite a bit of weight and lose quite a bit of strength.
Yeah, for the guy in the street, if you're doing a bench press on one day, give me it in time, in hours, a day, 2 days, 3 days before
48.
you do it again. Huh? What did you say?
48.
48 hours.
Yeah.
Would you do 48 hours resting?
Yeah, 48 hours sounds right. So
no less than that?
No less than 48 hours. I mean, you can go according to, I often say to people, go according to feel.
So 24 hours is not a rest?
Yeah, no, that's definitely not enough. If you're going to do bench or you're going to do legs, squats on a Monday, make sure that earliest Wednesday you're doing legs again.
Okay. All right, so that's real basic information that the people out there understand. If I do it in the one day, wait 3 to 4 days before I do it again. Of course, you're going to hammer it hard. You're destroying the muscle, and you must wait for everything to work. Right, folks, of course, hand in hand with recovery comes nutrition. Evox Advanced Nutrition is, of course, the official sports nutrition supplier to Western Province Rugby and the DHL Stormers. And one of the key reasons they perform so well on the team is on the field is because when they're training off the field, they make sure that they recover as quickly as possible. Once again, you have the Shaker 600 up for grabs. I'm not going to detail and demo the entire Shaker 600, but one of the favorite products at the Stormers is the Synergy Whey Protein. Which one would you say, Steph? You're first down the guy that uses it. Which one would you say? What product would you say is the player's favorite protein?
No, definitely the Synergy. We run out halfway during the month on our stock, so that's why I phone Evox quite a lot of times during a month. But it's a great product, and the players use it as snacks when they drive home, when they can't eat, or when there's no food for them. If they're at a facility not close to a shop. Yeah. But that in conjunction with a shaker is extremely important.
All right, folks, so if you want to win for yourself, the same product that the Currie Cup team and the Currie Cup finalists, of course, Western Province and the DHL Stormers use, you want to use the Evox Advanced Nutrition product, then SMS us your name and answer to 33280 that you see on the screen out now. Who is the official sports nutrition supplier to Western Province Rugby and the DHL Stormers, and tell us their favorite product. Just SMS your name and the answer to 33280. Congratulations to last week's winner, Christopher Carno. Christopher walks away with the Synergy hamper. You win for yourself the Synergy Whey Protein as well as the Shaker 600. We're going to take an ad break. When we come back, we'll take a look what's happening on some of the international fixtures. And don't forget, we'll give you a chance to win for yourself an Boka Boka rugby ball. Back in a sec. Welcome back, folks. Cape Rugby TV Wednesday nights, 9 o'clock. And, of course, some competition still coming up to wrap up, and that's the Amaboka ball. That'll go up for grabs. So grab your cell phone and keep it handy. Let's take a look now at the international fixtures. Italy are up against Fiji. Wales take on Argentina. England take on New Zealand. That's going to be a cracker at Twickenham at 4:30 on a Saturday. France and Tonga at Le Havre at 7 o'clock. Ireland up against Australia at Lansdowne Road. And, of course, Scotland take on South Africa at Murrayfield at 5 o'clock on a Sunday. And then, of course, folks, remember you can win for yourself the Amaboka ball. Just SMS the word rugby to 33280. You win an Amaboka ball together with a Lexar flash drive. Fantastic ball here together with a kicking tee, and we'll get this up to you in no time at all. A great ball. The Sevens guys played with it. And all you need to do is SMS the word rugby to 33280 and your name. We'll throw in the Lexar flash drive. This is the Cape Rugby TV combo prize. Congratulations to last week's winner, Michael Frick. Michael walks away with the Amaboka ball as well as the Lexar flash drive, which is used by all professional rugby players out there. I don't know. We need Greg Hechter on the show. Apparently Greg Hechter, the kicking coach from Western Province, is joining us next week, and he'll be able to tell us exactly how it is that you're supposed to put this ball on this kicking tee, because we've tried all sorts of different ways to do this, and I don't know. There's lots of different people who tell you different ways, like Bram van Straten and Louis Kuhn and Floxel. Yeah, they'll all tell you a different way. But next week we'll find out the right way to do it from Greg Hechter, the kicking coach and head of sports management at the High Performance Centre at Belvoir, where Western Province Rugby and the DHL Stormers practice. Right, folks, that is a wrap from us. Morgan Newman, I hope you enjoy a fruitful rugby weekend. See if you can wrestle the remote control away from your better half.
Yeah, no, thanks, Jeps. I'll be glued to the screen all weekend, so looking forward to it.
And Paulie, thanks for joining us. I know that you're getting ready and raring for action, and of course your academy side probably getting all amped for George.
Yeah, the guys can't wait, and thanks again for having me, Jeff.
All right, and Steph, nice to have you on the show as always, and we hope to see a lot more of you, because we really do need to continue the progression here of the Stormers, and we want to find out how it went in 2013, but we want to know also what your plans are for next year.
Perfect, I'll be back. Thanks for having me.
There we go, folks. Cape Rugby TV every Wednesday at 9. Remember, Facebook, www.facebook.com/Cape Rugby TV. And, of course, you can check out that photograph of the Leuco strapping. Tell us which one of these four panel members, Morgan Newman, Paul Delport, Stefan Toit, or myself, have got the wrap wrist in the photograph. Next, we'll reveal it. You win for yourself a pack of Leuco strapping. See you guys next week. Same time, same place. Bye-bye.